So if you've seen my last video, I've mentioned my top 5 favorite features of the Chevy Colorado that you see over here. What I'm gonna do in this video is give you guys my top 5 dislikes of the truck right here. Because obviously not every vehicle is perfect, because as human beings there are certain flaws with vehicles, therefore there are certain things that you don't like about the vehicle. Let's start with number 1 right here, and that is going to be the chin spoiler over here, or the air dam, however you guys want to refer to it. So GM, from what I understand, is that they've been putting this part on their vehicles for years, and it's basically for better aerodynamics, which is for better fuel economy. I don't have anything against for better fuel economy, and I think it's great that they're able to come up with a method to improve the fuel economy, so that way this would be an awesome daily driver and you're saving money on gas. But the problem is, if you take a look on the side over here, looking underneath the truck, it may look like you have quite enough ground clearance, right? But until you meet this piece over here, this pretty much confirms how much ground clearance that this truck has. Now, I understand that these can be removed for your preference, and people have done them. However, the process, from what I've seen, was very tedious, where you would have to take off the whole front bumper cover, lay it flat, and then there are several amounts of screws that you have to loosen up to get that chin spoiler off. Some people were able to do it without having to go through that whole process, but I'm just not very crazy about this chin spoiler over here. And if you take a look at the concrete, you can see how much ground clearance there is left before it scrapes, which makes it unfortunate for off-roading purposes, but that's kind of the reason why you would put a lift kit on the truck, or you would get a Colorado ZR2. But I understand that there are some people that don't have a ZR2, and they'll just take whatever truck that they have, put a lift kit on it, take off the air dam. While that is doable, it would be beneficial if GM was able to make it a little bit more user-friendly, but it is what it is. Now, another thing that I'm not too fond of this truck is the windshield. Visibility is fine whatsoever. I don't have a problem seeing out of it. The issue that I have is the fact that it's so close to the inside, meaning it's not angled upwards a little bit more. I would have liked it to be angled a little bit upwards, because when you're at a complete stop at a traffic light and you're the first vehicle at the traffic light, at my height, you can't even see the traffic light unless if you were to duck your head, and then you can look out the windshield to see the traffic light. Because this headliner is in the way, doesn't really make it that comfortable. And another thing that I don't really like about this windshield is that they don't have the little tints for blocking out glare. And because of that, I have to put my sunglasses on. Sometimes I can still get a little bit of glare from the sunglass because the sunlight is right there. But if I were to put this down, I mean, it helps, but then that kind of blocks almost half of my visibility, and that's not very ideal. Number 3, which I would have to say is basically natural for all GM products in general, including their high expensive cars like the Cadillacs, is basically the overall GM quality. So I don't know what it is, but I noticed that this side panel right here, as you can see, there's a gap which kind of exposes the airbag inside. And when I try to push it back, it's not going back into place. If you take a look on the left side, you can see that it's in place, no problem. So it's just the overall GM quality that I'm just not too fond of sometimes, because little stuff like this is noticeable. And not that I'm saying it's a huge deal or anything, but with that little gap being opened on that side, dust is getting in there. It's going to trap up dirt behind these panels. I probably could certainly just remove the panel and maybe tighten up a clip, or maybe check to see if there might have been a broken clip. But in the past, I have seen little bits of the GM quality where I notice it just doesn't look very professional sometimes. So number 4 is basically with an issue that I have with the LT trim level. You don't have the option for leather seats. Now, I understand that to get leather seats, you could opt for the Z71 package and get like the fully loaded one, which is fine. In my opinion, I like the leather seats better than the cloth seat. They're just a little bit more comfortable for me, but these aren't too bad. I just find it a little odd that if you were to get a Chevy Tahoe with the LT trim level, you do have the option for leather seats. Now, this is the LT trim level of the Colorado. There's no option for leather seats unless if you go for the Z71. Therefore, you are stuck with the cloth interior. Some people prefer the cloth interior, some people prefer the leather interior. For me, I prefer leather, but the cloth is not bad either way. Number 5 is basically just the disadvantages of having a truck. This varies. Some people may like it, some people don't, depending on what you're using your truck for. I find that with this truck, I can drift very easily compared to any other car. For instance, if I were at a complete stop and I just mash on the gas pedal, I'll definitely hear the tires spin for sure. And if I were to turn too fast on dry pavement, in rear-wheel drive with the bed empty, I'll definitely be drifting somehow. Not only that, if I were to go over a big bump and I'm driving, let's say 30 miles an hour, the back end of the truck will actually shift a little bit if it was empty. Not sure if that's normal for all trucks, but I have noticed that if I were to go over certain bumps that are very bumpy with a big pothole, it'll feel like the truck had actually shifted on the rear end, shifts from one side to another, which can be a little scary at times because you never know how hard that shift will be and if it'll actually go to the other side and maybe hit the other car that might be coming the other direction. But other than that, those are my top 5 dislikes of the Chevrolet Colorado. What are your top 5 dislikes? What features of the Colorado annoy you the most? Feel free to drop a comment down below. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe, rate, comment. Also, check out my social media links below in the description, Twitter and Instagram. I will see you guys in the next one. Take care, everybody, and it's time to go home.